Thank you for tuning in to Koppen Comic. I'm Brian Koppen with Comic Marty Fidelman. Marty Fidelman, how the hell are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming on. I mean, you're used to Zoom. We're doing this via Zoom, and you've done a bunch of Zoom shows, right?
I haven't done one recently,
Okay.
but I've done a lot of them. I've done a lot of Zoom. I've done a lot. It's like I think I burnt out at one point. I may have done almost too many Zoom. But like I walked into a supermarket. I tried to unmute myself, so it was like I've done way too many. But it's a great medium. It's a convenience. So it's got its purpose.
Yeah, I mean, now you're doing a lot more in-person stuff, but yeah, it's got its purpose because if you were in New York City and we had to trudge to the podcast studio today, man, it is there's several feet of snow on the ground and it's about 17 degrees. What's it like in LA?
It's well, I had to wear a jacket yesterday at night.
It means it's how cold? 60s, 60
It's
degrees?
actually a little bit chilly. It's like 50s or 60s. It's a little bit chilly.
Oh no, Marty Fidelman, I feel so bad. But we follow his funny stuff everywhere. He's funny 24 hours on Twitter, on Instagram, where he's just a huge deal with almost 10,000 followers. Funny 24 hours one. But he has a website, martyfidelman.com. And there you could just find out, all his dates and stuff. He's been at comedy clubs across the United States. And we're going to talk to him today about, things like ADHD and kind of how that can affect kind of performing and writing and comedy. But real quick, what do you got coming out? What do you got coming out soon that you're excited about?
Well, I'm excited. I'm going to wash my hair today. That's first. That's exciting. I'm looking forward to that. But I'm going to be on February 19th. I'll be at Flappers in Burbank. I always like going there. That'll be on the night at 7:30. That's exciting. And then I got some a couple of private corporate things next week, so I'm looking forward to that.
Teach me about this. I always see this everywhere. Is it the Dow Comedy Studio? Is that how you pronounce it? It's TAO, but is it Dow Comedy Studio?
Yeah, that was last Saturday.
And there's a patio there. I think Sue Ann Weaver was telling me about the patio, which is heated. So that's Bobby Oliver doing a lot of good stuff out there with Dow Comedy Studio. How does it kind of differ from doing a Flappers?
Well, you know what? With it's both. They're very different. The areas of town are very different. But the people are. It's pretty much once you get there, it's the same. Everything's the same. It's I think at Bob at the tower, there's like less comedians. And one thing they'll have maybe 4 or 5 comedians, and they usually go longer. When I'm there at Flappers, they bring in a lot more, and then you get a shorter time.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little bit when I do that. It's definitely I have to definitely prepare for that. Definitely have to, it's a little bit longer.
You got to make sure that you're choosing your choice bits, huh? Because you only have so much time.
I want to do that, and then since if I got something new or something old, I want to got to be clear because so I got to clear in my mind where I'm doing, and I don't want to get distracted and
because if you find a laugh, you can really go for it. You can be like, well, let me do more in this direction, but then you're pretty quickly out of time at Flappers, right?
At Flappers, there isn't a lot of time, though.
So I mean, how does you're doing all this comedy just everywhere, and you're just you've been doing it for a little while, and what have you noticed as far as dealing with ADHD and trying to write and perform comedy? Has it helped or harmed, or have you just kind of learned to live with it?
Oh, ADHD. Well, you know what? I've had it forever, but I wasn't diagnosed till well, I mean, officially, people before that they would see me as like, yeah, don't tell them we know you get. It's I was diagnosed maybe 20 years ago or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it helps and hurts. It's like my mind is like always going, but the bad thing is I got notes on the back of my bill from Capital One. I got notes on my index cards. I got notes. It's hard for me to kind of maybe get things organized like that. Sometimes I write so sloppy I can't even. It's like, oh my god, I have no idea what I do.
But I guess
So
even
that,
writing on the back of a Capital One bill is problematic. If you're like, oh, I had a genius comedy idea, let me write it down on the back. That's
yeah.
cool for comedy, but it's not so cool if you want to remember to pay your Capital One bill, right?
Or if, yeah, or if you want to mail it back to them, they don't need to know a joke about my urologist to kind of, they're not very appreciative by Dr. Klein. They don't need to know about that. So,
So your mind is going on all the time, but is it able, I mean, is it kind of unable to both prioritize and focus on what should be number one on your to-do list?
you know what? I do that, and you know, I remember one time, I remember somebody once said that, and it's just, it always stuck in my mind. It's like if I want to write jokes about, like, you know, like baseball or whatever, I wouldn't do that. But
Baseball
she
has no
said,
humor in
like,
it. I agree with you.
well,
Baseball's
unless
a
you're talking about
stupid
the
topic.
Yankees or something. But she said, like, the jokes come to you. So you don't come, like, I have a joke now about getting a haircut, and I think it's very cute, but it just kind of it just showed up one day, you know.
So you don't need to sit down and write, or is it difficult to sit down and write, especially when you know I don't
Yeah,
have to write, it will just
if I
come to
sit
me.
down, if I'm gonna sit down at 2 o'clock tomorrow, you know, I'll probably end up spending half the time just looking at ESPN. I won't come up with, or I'll just write something, you know, not much.
But why write? I mean, if it's coming to you, if this shit just
Yeah,
comes to you, I think Marty Fidelman's like Amadeus Mozart. It just comes to you, man.
well, I wouldn't say that, but it's like, it's sometimes you just get ideas, or I'll just see you just see something. I don't know, just see something, and I'll try to make a little. I have like a little notebook that I have in my pocket, and then I'll have that.
Yeah, that's good enough. I mean, if you're out
Yeah,
there
so
living, I mean, because your background processes are kind of going in your brain, especially if you're just actively thinking all the time, it's better to just kind of go live life, because chances are something interesting is going to pop up and then you can pull out the book, right? As long as you don't forget that you have your book. I mean, it's not really a memory disease. It's more a focus disease. I mean, it's more of a focus thing you're dealing with. It's not kind of a memory thing. So you'll always remember, hey, I have this book in my back pocket. I'll write all my hilarious thoughts there, right?
well, yeah, it's a small book, but I have that. But it's like, I mean, there are things that I'll just forget, you know, what so once you have it in writing, if it's legible, at least I feel,
I can
you
forget
know,
it
at least
now.
I have a chance, you know,
And
if
how
it's
did it present
legible.
itself 20 years ago? Like when it was diagnosed, like at what point we're like, ah, shit, this is getting to be a problem. I should, get it diagnosed.
Well, no, it wasn't that. I just I don't know how it. I'm not sure how it came to me, but
It was just
I
a
was
thought that came to you and
diagnosed.
you wrote it down.
Yeah, no, I did. I was diagnosed, and then after, I remember I had this bad car accident. Oh God, about 15, 20 years ago, and then I ended up. I don't know what I had to go to this counselor. And I got diagnosed again, and he goes, yeah. So
They're like, you
yeah.
got this new thing we're talking about called ADHD, and you're like, okay, well, how are you going to help me with it? Like, have they given you any tools that allow you? I mean, is does medication help? Does it hurt? Um, is there tools that you can do to kind of focus on things? I have OCD, which is kind of similar in the event that they just kind of give you these tools. They just kind of like exposure therapy and bullshit like that. And it's like, dude, if I wanted to be exposed to my fears, I wouldn't have OCD. Like, did they give you any kind of tools to deal with ADHD in a
Well,
productive manner?
there's a couple of good programming or calendars things that I did try, and they were like way too much for me.
Uh,
And there's certain rules about writing down your priorities, which I do at night. I'll write down tomorrow, I want to do this. So I do that. Sometimes things will just come up, you know. So, but I will at least write them down. So I do that. I mean, I was medicated for once. I was on oh, can't think of it. I was on one time. I got this one medication, and I knew it was weird because we went to the drug. This is like, gosh, oh, this is over 20 years ago. Anyhow, so I went to the drugstore, and nobody was even carrying it. So nobody was even carrying it. So it's like man, what this isn't just so something. So I got it, but I remember. Well, I think it was like Dexedrine. I was taking that and something else. And I remember, like, I was married at the time, and I was like just such a just a goofball. I mean, it just made me into just like a complete screw. I was like, it would just really, it definitely made me even a little more of a goofball.
Okay, that's funny. A comedian gets to be even more of a goofball, and
So
you're like, no, that's too
yeah, so
goofy.
it's something you would rather take me before you're doing a show.
I mean, it's like Adderall, are the kids, are all they dealing with ADHD with Adderall now, where you can focus quite a bit?
I'm sorry, what?
I think Adderall, is that now the popular drug that kids are using when they have ADHD? Adderall?
You know what? I don't know. I don't.
You're like, yeah, give me some of that, kids. The Dexedrine wasn't working 20 years ago. I want some Adderall.
Yeah.
But I think it's got some, kids can get addicted to it. It probably has some awful side effects. But how are you making this stuff funny? I mean, are you talking about ADHD on stage? And if not, what's kind of currently making your act? What are things that you're passionate enough about where you're able to bring them to Flappers or Tao Comedy Studio and, be like, people will be able to see this passion and laugh their ass off? Like, what's a topic you're currently passionate about that you've been trying a lot on stage?
What topics?
Yeah, just, I don't need it to burn material, but just, generally,
No,
what have
no,
you
no,
kind
it's
of been
okay.
surfing on?
Well, I done some stuff on the ADHD. It's, you know what? It's okay. I never really. I did that. Um, I talked about some stuff about feeling older, getting older. I talked about that, or talking about uh, getting older. Talking about where's my
Like
stuff?
what one of the current, yeah, what one of the current topics, like, is, a lot of it's probably personal, like getting older and stuff like that, but there's
Yeah.
anything that you see in the world that's actually like, oh shit, this is a Marty Fidelman chunk? Like, do you see the insurrection? Do you see the pandemic? Do you see these things as topics to go towards, or things that are like, oh no, fuck no, man, first of all, it's going to be dated
You
real
know,
quick and it's divisive?
I've done some stuff about Zoom shows. Um, it's like, well, like they're really good, but like, and like that's funny because I got all these friends who live all over the country, and then I tell them about it, and like nobody watches this. Like, so it's great they can watch it, but nobody watches this. It's just something weird about that. There's something weird about that. But
It's like you
so, I mean,
dealing
I
with
got
like watching ESPN, like your face on Zoom is right next to ESPN.com. That's Marty Fiddleman's hilarious, but it's like ESPN has the latest trade news on the NBA.
well, that's yeah. I mean, they just like they don't. Yeah, I got stuff about that. Stuff that I don't feel like I'm grandfather material. Like I don't know, just stuff like that.
Are you a grandfather? Are you allowed to say? I don't want to get
No,
too personal.
I'm not.
Okay, but that's why, because you're like, I'm not grandfather material.
I'm not, and I'm saying I just
You need to make that decision
it's
so
like,
far ahead of time, right? Like, you have to be like, I'm
well,
20,
I
I'm
just
gonna have a
don't.
kid who's gonna have a kid. I am my grandfather material.
You know what? Like, there's some people. It's weird. It's like that's all they talk about, and it's like it. I mean, it's nice, but it's like it's like I'm not gonna sit and. It's not like something it's like, well, I'd rather have that than, I mean, it's not like my number one it's not the number one priority on my action board. It's not,
Yeah, but also it's so not Marty. Like, any time spent being a parent or a grandparent is time not spent going around and being hilarious, Marty Fiddleman, right? Like, there's some
well,
ego. There's some ego when it comes to comedy and not wanting to be a parent, correct? Like, I'm the same way. Like, I don't want kids. I don't think it's I think it's unfair to kind of make the decision for a kid to kind of subject them to 80 years of working or starving. It's like, you're the but for cause of everything awful that happens in a child's life. Like, if they go on to have heartbreak or disease, it's like, well, I gave it to them because I birthed them without their consent. And so that's my heavy way of saying, yeah, I got an ego. me not having kids kind of also serves that ego, because then it can be about me and not about the kid. Do you see any ego stuff in not wanting to have grandkids or kids?
well, I no, I have a daughter, and I was obviously involved with her when she was younger and doing a lot of stuff. But so, I mean, that was good. But it's like, it's like, I don't know.
I did it once. I don't need the grandkids.
What? Yeah, well, I mean, anything if it's gonna if involve half the time changing diapers. I mean, it's not like,
Like, change your own diapers, daughter of mine, beloved daughter.
Well,
of mine.
that's what I'm saying. It's like I just don't.
That's so
Yeah, I
funny.
mean,
Has your daughter heard the grandfather not being grandfather material? Has she heard that stuff? Has she seen your comedy?
No, I told her, I told her I'd done that, you're talking about having kids, and I told her, but I mean, obviously, as a kid up, I mean, good, everything would be good, but
Yeah. But when the kids are here, I'm fine with them. I'm glad, if somebody, my friends have some kids and my sister has kids and they're wonderful. And so when they have kids, which of course everybody does, like, I love the kids. I enjoy spending time with them, but it's just like, that's always a personal decision. It's not really consistent with having a giant fucking ego, right? Because then your life really becomes about that person for at least the next 20 years, right?
yeah, yeah,
But did you do
yeah.
comedy while she was growing up? I mean, were you still able to get up on stage quite a bit?
Um, some, I wasn't, I was, it was like, I just kind of, wasn't as much. I remember I would spend um, like 5-6 hours on Saturdays. She was at these marathon dance classes, and
Wow.
where I would go to every school event, and so I didn't do as much. I was doing stuff that I was writing some stuff, but I was not at the Improv till 3 a.m.
But you are now. You're making up for lost time, right?
Well, I'm not like there till 3 a.m. But I am out. I am doing things. I'm I'm out.
And so is that mean is that a playland for somebody with ADHD and just somebody who's got a comedy, you got comedy sets for every single venue. I mean, is it LA a great place to be when you're Marty Fidelman? You can kind of go and get up anywhere.
Um, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I think it's I can't judge it, but I just think that there's more people than there was, some years ago. There's just more people. I don't know what happened. It's like, it just seems, you can't prove it, but it just seems like
People
it's
having
like,
kids, man. People like you having kids, Marty. I mean,
well,
that's
it's like everybody, whether they're a plumber, a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, everybody is doing comedy. That's
yeah.
what it seems like.
And does that kind of have you up your game? I mean, are you just are you sweating the guy coming up, or are you just like, no, man, fuck that guy. Good luck to that person. We'll see if he or she is here in 5 years.
Well, I mean, I try to do what I can, the best I can.
Right. But you're not sweating the competition, right? You're because it's just you and the audience. It's either the
I
audience is going to
to
like
be
it or they
honest,
hate
I don't think about that. I don't think I just I don't think about
it. Doesn't think about
I
the
mean,
competition.
it's so subjective. I mean,
Yeah.
there are places that I'm have an advantage because I may be older than some 21-year-old, maybe for some business setting or something, and I just do my own thing. I don't make sound effects and noises and jump up and down. Um I just do my thing, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just between you and the audience. It's so subjective. Like if they
Yeah,
laugh at your
yeah,
shit, they can also laugh at the next that guy's shit or not. But it really doesn't really affect your laughs, I don't think.
yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, I try not to think about that. So the only times sometimes it's like, I mean, I go on like Facebook or Instagram, and there's these local shows, and there's still like a dozen comedians listed, and it's like, and I've never, and I been seeing the stuff consistently in different places, and like 10 of the 12 I never even heard of. It's like, man, they're just coming out of the woodwork. It's like,
Yeah. But that's how people felt about you when you started, right? Who's this Marty Fiddleman guy trying to fucking break into my scene, right?
oh yeah, yeah.
Here's this guy who's hilarious and he's talking about fucking urology from the back of his Capital One bill. And so, I mean, what do you got coming up that you're excited about? You got the show coming up, Flappers. How often are you at Flappers? Like, are you there every month?
I would say at least once, twice a month.
And do you like, is it indoors? So unlike Tao Comedy Studio, which has the outdoor heated patio, I assume
Well,
Flappers is indoors.
they have two indoor spaces there.
All right. And so they're
They do
probably
have
using
two.
it.
It's nice. It's nice inside. They have two nice inside places, but they just have it outside. I maybe it's just
Oh, COVID thing.
yeah.
Safer.
It could be safer with COVID.
Yeah.
And last time it wasn't. It was chilly. I mean, not it was chilly, but not cold. But it wasn't that bad.
I had to pull out my 50-degree coat. That's hilarious. I'm here. It's 15
Well,
degrees.
actually, it was probably a little warmer than that, but it was.
I was exaggerating 50. That's the funny. It was actually 60. But I mean, do you like the inside? I mean, if you had the choice between, Tao Comedy Studios outdoor, I know they have indoor as well, or they're indoor, would you prefer indoor because it's better for comedy, or do you want it to just be safer outside?
Um,
Because many people say like indoors
probably
is better.
probably indoor.
Okay. And
Probably,
flappers is what?
but it was fine. Was there? It was you know it was nice.
But
You
what's
can.
interesting, like if you have a sea of faces and you have all these kids coming up, you see some of these sets. Like, is there anything that the young kids are doing that you're like, oh, I actually like that? Like, not the whole jumping up and down and making noise or whatever sound effects. Is there anything like the new wave of comedians or just the young whippersnappers or the plumber who's a comedian? Is there anything that they're doing that you've ever been like, I like that. Let me work a little bit of that style into my act?
Um,
You're like,
I
no,
really don't.
no,
I don't
I
know.
find nothing interesting in their comedy. Mine is the only good stuff.
I try to be relatively clean and stuff yeah, like one time I booked this show and I brought this guy and and I've seen him in different places and he's usually very good and he ad libs with the audience really well and does stuff and I brought him and it's like and he was he's younger and it's like it was like you go on a first date and within 5 minutes something's not right and it just didn't feel right. So I was booking these shows in different venues, whatever, and it's the only person in several years of doing it. This person afterwards who ran the show who couldn't be nicer. He says, "Never bring so and so back." And it's like I don't know. He just didn't relate. There's something. Just I don't think he was swearing. It was just something. It just you can't put your finger out. It just wasn't right.
But I mean, what is right is Marty Fidelman, but how did you even come up, with ADHD? Did it have anything to do with you choosing your social media handles, which are, funny 24 hours on Twitter and funny 24 hours one on Instagram? Is it just because your mind is racing with hilarious shit all day long that you are funny 24 hours a day?
I don't think it's just a coincidence that was I came up with that email a year before and I just kind of kept with it, but it does it I mean I'll think of things sometimes I wake up at 3 a.m. Think of stupid things. So
Yeah, the stuff can come at you any time of the day, and he's going to write it on the back of the Capital One bill. So we follow him everywhere. He's also Marty Fidelman, MartyFidelman.com. I said Farty Middleman, but yeah, he's Marty Fidelman. He's going to be at Flappers. He's going to be at Tao Comedy Studios. So check all these things out. Marty Fidelman, thank you so much for coming on.
thank you so much.